Krishna.
Yesterday, Guru Maharaj was very good, Mataji. He was so fresh and very good.
Oh, that's nice to hear.
He was looking very fresh, Mataji, yesterday.
Mm.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Text 17. Charachara Gurur Vishnur Ishwarasya Kilatmana Dharma Dranaya Sadhunam Janma Karma Panuttaye. Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the spiritual master of all moving and non-moving living beings, and the supreme soul of all, takes birth to protect the principles of religion and to relieve his saintly devotees from the reactions of material work. And so, why is he talking about? So that is why, even in such a situation where we are so fallen, we have misused everything that Krishna has given. He's created this material world for our pleasure. Everything is expansion of his body. Everything he has done to the minutest detail, all for our conveniences, so that all our perverted desires may be fulfilled and we make progress spiritually and go back to him. But we only took all the enjoyment and we forgot about him. And Kali Yuga is the rottenmost of the ages. But Krishna didn't abandon us. He's still coming and wants to elevate us and take us back home, back to Godhead. So he is the spiritual master of all moving and non-moving living beings. Even non-moving living beings like trees. He's the spiritual master. We are only seeing tree, the external body. But as far as Krishna is concerned, that is also an Atma. And he's standing along with the Atma inside the tree. And he's the spiritual master because he is the one who's elevating every living entity from one body to the next. Without his plan or his sanction, how will the soul go from one body to the next? Who will arrange all that? Where to go, how to go? Everything happens because of Krishna, super soul of all, and he takes birth to protect the principles of religion, which is completely lost in Kali Yuga, and to relieve his saintly devotees from the reactions of material work. Because even the saintly devotees have got karma left from their previous lifetimes. And so Krishna comes to protect them. And because of that, they may be suffering the distresses from the asuras and various ways. Shambalagrama mukyasya brahmanasya mahatmana bhavane Vishnu yashasa Kalki pradhur bhavishyati. Lord Kalki will appear in the home of the most eminent Brahmana of Shambhala village, the great soul Vishnu Yasha. Shambhala village, where I don't know, it's in Uttar Pradesh or Andhra Pradesh. Let's see if it's mentioned.
There is one Sambala in UP, Mataji, but I don't know whether which Sambala this is referred to here.
Okay. Ashvam Asugam Aruhya Devadattam Jagatpati Asina Sadhu Dhamanam Ashtaishwarya Gunanvita Vicharan Asuna Kshaunyan Hayena Pratima Dhyuti Nripalinga Chado Dasyun Kotisho Nihanishyati. Lord Kalki, the Lord of the universe, will mount a swift horse, Devadatta, and sword in hand, travel over the earth, exhibiting his 8 mystic opulences and 8 special qualities of Godhead, displaying his unequaled effulgence and riding with great speed. He will kill by the millions those thieves who have dared dress as kings. These verses describe the thrilling pastimes of Lord Kalki. Anyone would be attracted by the sight of a powerful, beautiful man riding on a wonderful horse at lightning speed, chastising and devastating cruel, demonic people with a sword in his hand. Imagine people have Superman and Spider-Man. They should make a film of Lord Kalki. how he comes in lightning speed in the horse. And
फोटो
this,
दिखाया गया
huh?
वो फिल्म दिखा रहे थे
Demonic people with sword in his hand. Of course, fanatical materialists may argue that this picture of Lord Kalki is a mere anthropomorphic creation of the human mind, a mythological deity created by people who need to believe in some superior being. But this argument is not logical, nor does it prove anything. It is merely the opinion of certain people. We need water, but that does not mean man creates water. We also need food, oxygen, and many other things that we do not create, since our general experience is that our needs correspond to available objects existing in the external world. That we appear to need a supreme Lord would tend to indicate that, in fact, there is a supreme Lord. In other words, nature endows us with a sense of need for things that actually exist and that are, in fact, necessary for our well being. Similarly, we experience a need for God because we are, in fact, part of God and cannot live without Him. At the end of Kali Yuga, this same God will appear as the mighty Kalki Avatara and beat the pollution out of the demons. So they are ready to accept all. I mean, they're so glued to watching all the Spider-Man, Batman, and Phantom and Superman. But when we talk about reality, Lord Kalki coming, then they say, this is just another imagination. And then it just because we want something, we are creating. And that's why very logically is explaining whatever we require, it is there in nature. We are hungry, then there is food available. We are thirsty, there is water. And similarly, if we require God, then He is also there. We cannot live without God. How can it be that we desire God and there is no God? It's not possible. Atatesham bhavishyanti manamsi vishadhani vai Vasudevanga-ragati punyagandha-nilasprisham paurajanapadhanam vai hateshva akila dasyushu. After all the impostor kings have been killed, the residents of the cities and towns will feel the breezes carrying the most sacred fragrance of the sandalwood paste and other decorations of Lord Vasudeva, and their minds will thereby become transcendently pure. Nothing can surpass the sublime experience of being dramatically rescued by the great hero who happens to be the Supreme Lord. The death of the demons at the end of Kali Yuga is accompanied by fragrant spiritual breezes, and thus the atmosphere becomes most enchanting. So the kings, the bad kings have been all killed, and the residents of the cities will feel the most sacred fragrance of sandalwood paste and other decorations of Lord Vasudeva. Tesham praja visargascha stavishta sambhavishyati Vasudeve Bhagavati Sattvamurtau Hridisthite. When Lord Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appears in their hearts in his transcendental form of goodness, the remaining citizens will abundantly repopulate the earth. So whoever is demonic are all killed. And because the others could get darshan of the Supreme Lord in his, and he appears in their hearts in his transcendental form of goodness, the remaining citizens will abundantly repopulate the earth. Yadavatirno Bhagavan Kalkir Dharmapatir Hari Kritam Bhavishyati Tada Prajas Sutis Jasatviki. When the Supreme Lord has appeared on earth as Kalki, the maintainer of religion, Satya Yuga will begin and human society will bring forth progeny in the mode of goodness. Yada Chandrascha Suryascha Tatatishya Brihaspati Ekarashau sameshanti bhavishyati tada kritam. When the moon, the sun, and Brihaspati are together in the constellation Karkata, and all three enter simultaneously into the lunar mansion Pushya, at that moment, the age of Satya or Krita will begin. So, moon, sun, moon, and Guru are in Kataka Rashi, and then they enter into the into the nakshatra Pushya. At that exact moment, the age of Satya or Krita will begin. Yetita vartamana ye bhavishyanti cha parthiva teta uddeshata prokta vamshi ya soma surya. Thus I have described all the kings, past, present, and future, who belong to the dynasties of the sun and moon. From your birth to the coronation of King Nanda, 1.150, from your birth up to the coronation of King Nanda, 1150 years will pass. Although Sukadeva Goswami previously described approximately 1500 years of royal dynasties, it is understood that some overlapping occurred between kings. Therefore, the present chronological calculation should be taken as authoritative. So this Nanda, King Nanda, Parikshit Maharaj, beginning of Kali Yuga maybe, yes. He was in the beginning of Kali Yuga. And he's saying there's only 1150 years passed since Parikshit Maharaj's birth and Nanda, King Nanda, that is during Chanakya's time. Chanakya was in the, then were the Mauryas, Chandragupta, and before that were Nanda. So that's what he's saying. 1150 years after Parikshit Maharaj. Of the 7 stars forming the constellation of the 7 sages, Pulaha and Kratu are the first to rise in the night sky. If a line running north and south were drawn through their midpoints, whichever of the lunar mansion this line passes through is said to be the ruling asterism of the constellation for that time. The 7 sages will remain connected with that particular lunar mansion for 100 human years. Currently, during your lifetime, they are situated in the nakshatra called Magha. So the Saptarishi Mandala, the 7 stars that we see, the Great Bear constellation, they belong to the 7 sages. And of those 7 stars, the one to rise first in the night sky is Pulaha and Kratu. Those rishis, this thing rise first. If a line running north and south were drawn through their midpoint, whichever of the lunar mansions this line passes through is said to be the ruling asterism of the constellation for that time. So that is some key this thing for astrology. The 7 sages will remain connected with that particular lunar mansion for 100 human years. Currently, during your lifetime, they are situated in the nakshatra called Magha. Vishnur Bhagavato Bhanu Krishna Kyosau Divam Gata Tada Vishtat Kalir Lokam Pape Yad Ramate Jana. The Supreme Lord Vishnu is brilliant like the sun and is known as Krishna. When he returned to the spiritual sky, Kali entered this world, and people then began to take pleasure in sinful activities. as long as Krishna was there, because he's so pure, the influence of Krishna, there were no sinful activities. And once he left, immediately Kali got in. And then people began to take pleasure in sinful activities. Yavat sapada padmabhyam sprishan ashte ramapati tavat kalir vai prithvim parakrantum nasha chashakat. As long as Lord Krishna, the husband of the goddess Fortune, touched the earth with his lotus feet, Kali was powerless to subdue this planet. Purport. Although even during the time of Lord Krishna's presence on earth, although even during the time of Lord Krishna's presence on earth, Kali had entered the earth to a slight extent through the impious activities of Duryodhana and his allies. Lord Krishna consistently suppressed Kali's influence. Kali could not flourish until Lord Krishna had left the earth. So that is what, whenever there is Krishna, there is Taha Nahi Mayara Adhikar. And similarly, it is said about a great devotee, pure devotee, after he leaves Acharya, then there is also some chaos. When Prabhupada was there, the movement just flourished everywhere, thousands and thousands of devotees, so many new temples, all that happened. After that, immediately after his leaving, there was a little confusion. But of course, he had trained all his disciples very well, so everything got back into shape. But there will be, because a little bit, because that is it. I mean, that's the difference they make. Yada devrishaya sapta maghasu vicharantihi tada pravristastu kalir dvadashabdha shatatmaka. When the constellation of the seven sages is passing through the lunar mansion Magha, the age of Kali begins. It comprises 1200 years of the demigods. It comprises 1200 years of the demigods. Yada maghabhyo yasyanti purvasadham maharshaya tadanandat prabhritti esha kalir vriddam gamishyati. When the great sages of the Saptarishi constellation pass from Magha to Purvasadha, Kali will have his full strength beginning from King Nanda and his dynasty. So we are in that period, because Nanda, during that time, all this Kali really started in a very big way. And he was overthrown by Chanakya, and then he established Chandragupta Maurya and all that. But then it didn't last for very long. There were so many dynasties. Yasmin Krishno divam yatas tasmin eva tadahani pratipannam kaliyugam iti prahu puravidam. Those who scientifically understand the past declare that on the very day that Lord Sri Krishna departed from the spiritual world, the influence of the age of Kali began. Although technically Kali Yuga was to begin during the time of Lord Krishna's presence on earth, this fallen age had to wait meekly for the departure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So whenever there is Krishna, then Kali cannot, he becomes very subdued. He cannot exert his influence. And likewise, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, then also there was so much of, he was spreading devotion throughout India. And he predicted that my Senapati Bhakta will take it around the world. Actually, we don't even know what all could have happened to this planet. How many wars would have happened. so much more. Somehow we are still there, intact, and not too much, only because of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy and the devotees who are chanting the holy name. That is what is keeping some little bit of sanity in this world. Divyabdhanam sahasrante chaturte tu punakritam bhavishyati tada nrinam mana atma prakashakam. After the 1000 celestial years of Kali Yuga, the Satya Yuga will manifest again. At that time, the minds of all men will become self-effulgent. So, heavenly years of the Devas. After that, the end of Kali Yuga. Iti esha manavo vamsho yata sankyayate bhuvi tatavat shudra vipranam taste gneye yuge yuge. Thus I've described the royal dynasty of Manu as it is known on this earth. One can similarly study the history of the Vaishyas, Shudras, and Brahmanas living in the various ages. So not only about the Kshatriyas. Thus I've described the royal dynasty of Manu. So also other castes. Purport. Just as the dynasty of kings includes exalted and insignificant, virtuous and wicked monarchs, varieties of human character are found in the intellectual, commercial, and laboring orders of society. So that's what there is. Krishna says that one can study the history of Vaishyas, Shudras, and Brahmanas also for inspiration. Whatever, good things that they exhibited. Etesham nama linganam purushanam mahatmanam katha matra vasishtanam kirtir eva stiti bhuva. These personalities who are great souls are now known only by their names. They exist only in accounts from the past, and only their fame remains on the earth. Although one may consider oneself to be great, powerful leader, he will ultimately end up as a name in the long list of names. In other words, if it is useless to be attached to power and position in the material world. Because what is the use? Even if you people are crazy about power and position and name and fame, because they think, oh, they will glorify me, especially Kshatriyas. Kshatriyas is a big king, and then he made wonderful conquests and was very strong and powerful, and then history will note it down and keep repeating. So, but what's the use? They're just some names. We don't even know who, how did Chandragupta Maurya look? We don't know. We just know him by his name. That's all. They exist only in the accounts from the past. So it's nothing to do with present. People are more interested in present and also in future, immediate future, but not on the past. So, okay, just we read that not for devotees, but others in the history books. What does it matter? Devapi Shantanur Brata Marus Cheksha Vamsaja Lapa Grama Arate Yoga Balanvitau. Devapi, the brother of Shantanu, and Maru, the strength, and are living now in the village of Kalapa. So that is, we should go to Kalapa and find out if there is anyone like that. Who's that Devapi? The brother of Maharaja Shantanu. and Maru, the descendant of Ikshvaku. Both possess a great mystic strength and are living even now in the village of Kalapa. Anyone knows where is Kalapa? Tav ihatya kaler ante vasudevanu shikshitau varnashramayutam dharmam purvavat pratayishyata. At the end of the age of Kali, these two kings, having received instruction directly from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, will return to human society and re-establish the eternal religion of man, characterized by the divisions of Varna and Ashrama, just as it was before. According to this and previous verses, the two great kings who will re-establish human culture after the end of Kali Yuga have already descended to the earth, where they are patiently waiting to render their devotional service to Lord Vishnu. So also it is mentioned that Ashwatthama somewhere, he is also here waiting. He is undergoing tapasya and he will also help in establishing Satya Yuga. And here it's mentioned, brother of two kings, and they would have got directly instructed by Supreme Lord. So who are those two great kings? Devapi, the brother of Maharaja Shantanu, and Maru, the descendant of Ikshvaku. So because they've been instructed by the Lord, Vasudeva will return to the human society and re-establish the eternal religion of man, characterized by the divisions of Varna and Ashrama, just as it was before. Because before this situation, before the beginning of Satya Yuga, Kali Yuga it is at its lowest point, and that is when Kalki comes and destroys all the kings. So somehow these two people, they've already come, so they're also doing tapasya, and they will help establish Satya Yuga all over the world. Kritam Treta Dwaparam cha Kalischeti Chaturyugam Anena Krama Yogena Bhuviprani Shuvartate. The cycle of four ages, Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali, continues perpetually among living beings on this earth, repeating the same general sequence of events. Rajan ete maya prokta naradevastata pare bhumau mamatvam kritvante hitve mam nidanam gataha. My dear King Parikshit, all these kings I've described, as well as all other human beings, come to this earth and stake their claims, but ultimately they all must give up this world and meet their destruction. So all these kings, as well as human beings, what do? They stake their claims. I'm this, I'm that, this belongs to me, or this position is mine, or this wealth is mine. But ultimately, they all must give up this world and meet their destruction. Only the so that, I mean, this makes us understand that what is the use? They're all dead and gone. What's the point of, wanting to have stake their claims about I'm the king and everything, I'm the greatest and so many things, and then they're all finished and gone. Ultimately, they all must give up this world and meet their destruction. And that is why our Vedic culture talks about Vairagya from the very beginning, Because that is the purpose of life. Purpose of this material creation is that we develop attachment to Krishna and detachment from matter. And go to the next verse. Krimivid bhasma samgnante rajanamnopi yasya cha bhutadrik tatkrite swartam kim veda nirayo yata. Even though a person's body may now have the designation king, in the end its name will be worms, stool, or ashes. What can a person who injures other living beings for the sake of his body know about his own self-interest, since his activities are simply leading him to hell? Purport. After death, the body must be buried and eaten by the worms, or it may be thrown in the street or forest to be eaten by animals who will pass out its remnants. No. After death, the body may be buried and eaten by worms, or it may be thrown in the street or forest to be eaten by animals who will pass out its remnants as stool, or it may be burned and converted into ashes. Therefore, one should not pave his way to hell by using his temporary body to injure the bodies of the other living beings. In this verse, the word bhuta includes non-human life forms who are also creatures of God. One should give up all envious violence and learn to see God in everything by the prowess of Krishna consciousness. So that is the point, that we have to, the mind is constantly telling us about physical benefit for us. And by being attached to that, it is just an illusory trap that we think that there is something, to enjoy in this material world. I will be good. I'll advance also spiritually, but I want also to laud it by getting some position, a power, like the devatas. They also have the desire. So they got it, but then it's very temporary. And it's talking about these kings, basically. Even though a person's body may now have the designation king, in the end, its name will be worms, stool, or ashes. What can a person who injures other living beings for the sake of his body know about his own self-interest, since his activities are simply leading him to hell? The thing is, they don't have enough goodness today to recognize what will happen. What's the consequence of being so corrupt and even harming people just to protect yourself, kill them? And so if you injure other living beings for the sake of our body, know that his own self-interest. So if he is ready to kill other people for the sake of his own body, but that is not according to, it's not real self-interest, because you're going to go to hell and suffer there for God knows how long. So he's saying that the bodies can either be buried or eaten by worms, or it may be thrown in the street or forest to be eaten by animals who will pass out its remnants as stool, or it may be buried and converted into ashes. Therefore, one should not pave his way to hell by using this temporary body to injure the bodies of other living beings. In this way, in this verse, the word bhuta includes non-human life forms who are also creatures of God. One should give up all envious violence and learn to see God in everything by the process of Krishna consciousness. So that now this meat eating is such a rampant thing. So many lakhs and lakhs of animals are killed, slaughtered mercilessly, just so that, I don't know, whatever taste they find, something, they can't be without it. But then they're definitely going to hell. And then the materialistic king thinks this unbounded earth was held by my predecessors and is now under my sovereignty. How can I arrange for it to remain in the hands of my sons, grandsons, and other descendants? This is an example of foolish possessiveness. And it is, I mean, every politician is grooming like that only. My son should also stand for election, and then he is my this thing. Whatever name and goodwill I've built must pass on to my son, and then he will give it to his son, and so on. So this is what the materialistic king think. So he's planning, how can I make sure that I'm not satisfied just my son, myself, first of all. And then when my career is going to be finished, I want my son also. And that son and his son, grandson, and so on, it should continuously pass. Meanwhile, you've given up your body and you've gone to some other family. So what does it matter? Tejo bi annamayam kayam grihitvamat ya buddha mahim mamathaya chobhau itvante darshanam gata. Although the foolish accept the body made of earth, water, and fire as me, and this earth as mine, in every case they have ultimately abandoned both their body and the earth and passed away into oblivion. Hmm. Although the soul is eternal, our so called family tradition and earthly fame will certainly pass into oblivion. Who cares about what happened so many years ago? Even the big dynasties, okay, dynasty, Maurya dynasty, maybe there were many kings and they fought and then they had great riches. But it doesn't matter, it's all gone now and nobody cares for that. And those souls are also somewhere. They're not here to enjoy all that fame or anything. ये भूपतयो राजन् भुञ्जते भुवमोजसा कालेन त कृता सर्वे हतामृताः कथासु च. My dear King Parikshit, all these kings who tried to enjoy the earth by their strength were reduced by the force of time to nothing more than historical accounts. The word Rajan, O king, is significant in this verse. Parikshit Maharaj was preparing to give up his body and go back home, back to Godhead. And Shukadeva Goswami, his most merciful spiritual master, devastated any possible attachment that he might have to the position of king by showing that the ultimate significance of both any possible attachment that he might have to the position of king by showing the ultimate insignificance of such a position, because Sukadeva Goswami is talking to Parikshit and he's very concerned that I have to deliver him from the clutches of death in 1 week's time. So he is telling, oh king, because he is also a king, so don't have any more attachment to all this, anything, any lingering attachment should be given up. By the causeless mercy of the spiritual master, one is prepared to go back home, back to Godhead. The spiritual master teaches one to relax one's strong grip on material illusion and and leave the kingdom of Maya behind. Although Shukadeva Goswami speaks very bluntly within this chapter about the so-called glory of the material world, he is exhibiting the costless mercy of the spiritual master who takes his surrendered disciple back to the kingdom of Godhead, Vaikuntha. So this is the duty of the spiritual master. He teaches one to relax one strong grip on material illusion and leave the kingdom of Maya behind. How long we've been holding on to Maya so tightly? How many zillions of lifetimes? And that's why Sukadeva Goswami very bluntly talks about the so-called glory of the material world. And really, that is the intelligence to just surrender to Krishna and do whatever Krishna wants. That will make us completely satisfied and happy. And that is eternal. What we'll get in return is Krishna's association. And even the glory, even if whatever work we do for Krishna, that will be eternal. Who knows? It may go into the Bhagavatam book because what's his name? Vyasadeva is going to write Gaura Bhagavat, are the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya also in the Bhagavatam. Especially, after Prabhupada, the kind of how the earth changed, Kali Yuga, the 10,000 years, that's really it's remarkable. And so we can be one of the foot soldiers also. We also, the Gaura Bhagavat, if we, I mean, maybe not by name, but we are there. We are also in the army. So like that, but anyway, a devotee doesn't care for all those kind of names. What does it matter? You are in some other body, and you yourself may not realize you are the person they are glorifying. Oh, Ashoka the Great, Ashoka the Great. Where is Ashoka? He doesn't even know where, that we are talking about him. He himself is in some other body. So that's why it's totally useless. Only when, as long as we are attached to the mind, these kind of crazy things people are attached to, name, fame, glorification, and all that. And really is a trap of Maya to deviate us from the reality, from the truth, so beautiful truth of surrendering to Krishna and acting as a servant, which is a most exalted position. It's like being PA to the Prime Minister. Okay, he is a very, very exalted position because, I mean, of course, in the material world, it's not the perfect comparison, but still, it's a very powerful position. He cannot be PM, but he's got great powers just being secretary to the Prime Minister. So, in the same way, being servant of Krishna, we can never be God, but being God's servant is very, very exalted. And um, Krishna may engage us in so many ways. So, why should we listen to the mind? Either we are serving the mind or we're serving Krishna. So, why should we serve our mind, which is just constantly talking some nonsense and leads us away from truth, keeps us attached to falsehood, to illusions? That's why we should never, never trust the mind. We are also serving the mind. The mind is separate from us. Mind is telling some nonsense, and we think, yes, yes, I should get this. Otherwise, I'll not be happy. And we get completely detoured from our real well-being, which is to our real well-being, which is to be a servant of Krishna, such an exalted position. And anything, Krishna can make us do anything. And the wonderful thing is, you don't even have to struggle for it. Krishna will, when he says do something, he gives the power also. And the success is also added to it. Whatever Krishna wants will come to pass. And we are simply instruments. So that is the only thing we should aspire for. All the chanting, all the devotional services are simply to do whatever Krishna wants. Krishna, I'll do whatever service you want, and that will be very, very glorious service. Whatever service, it may be something very small or very big, those things don't matter in devotional service. What matters is I did what Krishna wanted, then it's very exalted. That's what in the Bhagavatam, we don't sit and compare who's greater. Prahlad Maharaj is greater, or Dhruv Maharaj is greater, or Uttanapada is greater, or this one. I mean, we don't do some comparative studies, because all of them are surrendered to Krishna, and they did whatever Krishna wanted. So they are glorious. They may have, one may have ruled over a small kingdom, another might have ruled over the whole world or the whole earth. I mean, what do you call, heavenly planets or wherever. That doesn't matter. What matters is only the devotion. How much were they dedicated? Anybody who does the instructions, fulfills the instructions of Krishna, is glorious. And it's wonderful to study how, I mean, because it's all manifested by Krishna. Whatever the devotee does, a pure devotee does, it is all manifested by Krishna. And the pure devotee does not feel any kind of attachment. He doesn't feel that I did it, and he feels proud about it, and he feels I have to be rewarded for it. I should be made this and that, and everyone should glorify me. He doesn't feel like that. That is a kind of, it's a weakness, and it makes us fall down like a real foolish person running after wrong things, and then we will definitely have a fall down. And that is why even Lord Brahma, who externally, if you see, he's got reason to be very proud. He has created this whole universe, and he is like omniscient Lord. Within this universe, he's aware. He's now aware of you and me. We are reading the Bhagavatam. He knows us, even though we are just one small, insignificant soul. So many, countless souls are there. But Brahma, by the power of Krishna, Paramatma, he is omniscient, and he knows all the creatures of this universe. So such an exalted position. But he realizes, he tells Krishna, please let me not get into mode of passion and think I'm doing all this. You only are telling me everything. I'm just carrying out your orders. Let me not foolishly think that I'm something, I did something, I'm so great. Actually, Brahma's position is nothing compared to all the, devotees, the Gopas, who are simply just playing with Krishna. We may think, what is the use? The Gopas are simply playing with Krishna, whereas Brahmaji, imagine, is doing such an important job in the material world. In the material world, everything is illusory, temporary, and it's all done for our sense gratification. Even Brahmaji, he had the desire that I want to be a creator like Krishna. So it's based on some material desire, but he's very, very exalted, best devotee in this material world. And so he was given this. But that position is also nothing. It also comes to an end, and it's full of pitfalls. Anytime he also made some mistakes now and then, very rare, but anyway, he did it. And and then he felt, and he even offended Krishna, and he felt very repentant of that. And then he realized, oh, I don't want, just make me humble. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him, come during my pastime, be Haridas Thakura, and all your pride will vanish, because you'll be born in a very low family and all that. So he always maintained that humility, that tapasya he did, because he realized, what's the use of being a Brahma? Even that didn't satisfy him. He gave it up, and he came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's humble devotee and went back to Godhead. So, seeing all these things, we should be very determined that real happiness comes only by surrendering to the lotus feet of Krishna and doing whatever he wants, not what my mind wants. This is where it's very tricky. One should distinguish between what Krishna wants, what the mind wants. The mind may say, no, this is the thing. You have to do this. And we may think, oh, maybe Krishna is talking to me. No, mind is up and Krishna is in the heart. So whatever is coming from Krishna will be full of inspiration, and it will be seconded by the Guru and blessed like that. And we'll not be disturbed. We'll simply do whatever Krishna wants. We'll not be attached to the results, or neither we'll claim any credit, but we'll feel blissful because we are doing something which Guru and Krishna wants. So that is why we are chanting Hare Krishna mantra. And whatever we need to do in this life will become self-manifest in our hearts, and from Guru and from Vaishnavas, from so many ways. Krishna will tell us, this is what I want you to do. And each devotee should do that. And then everything will be so beautiful and perfect. Until only because many devotees, until you start listening to Krishna, material desires cover the devotees, thinking, and clouds it. And so they listen to their minds, and then even devotees face, oh, what is this? I'm not feeling satisfied. We should take lessons from Vyasadeva. Whenever we do a service, if we are doing it for Krishna perfectly, whatever Krishna wants, we should feel completely satisfied. It may be a big job or a small job. I just cooked a meal and offered it to Krishna, but I did it with so much devotion for Krishna, and I just satisfied him. If we just cook that meal for the pleasure of Krishna, we'll feel completely satisfied. And that is enough. Any job, whatever Krishna wants, I did it, and I feel he felt happy, I'm also happy. So that must be our goal. What does Krishna want? And whatever he wants, I will do it, and then I will be extremely happy. In fact, Guru Maharaj, when first Prabhupada sent him to India, to Mayapur, when nobody else was ready, he would have agreed even to go to alone. He had to go there and set it up. And what was there? Nothing. Just jungle-like land, overgrown with all trees and bushes and all these things. Nothing over there. Only rats running around and snakes and all this. And you have to completely build it up from scratch. Now, but living in Mayapur Dham. So he wrote to Prabhupada that actually, Prabhupada, I'm enjoying my service very much. Isn't sense gratification? Am I doing something wrong? So Prabhupada said, no, you're very fortunate that you're liking whatever Krishna's given you as a service. So if you're ready, whatever Krishna's, and it also happened that he had to do something which he didn't like, and that was construction job. There's all the long building, and all the buildings initially, the initial buildings, there were three, right? Lotus building, Chakra building, and Conch building. They were the three first. All these buildings, Guru Maharaj only supervised and built it. So the first one, especially Chakra building, longest building of Asia, long building. I don't think there's any building so long, the corridors. So when he was built, when first he had just taken sannyas, and Prabhupada called him and he said, I want you to take up supervising construction of this building. And Guru Maharaj got a shock of his life. I thought that sannyasi is supposed to read books. And so then he got a shock. He wasn't prepared for this construction job. And then Prabhupada just hammered him. He said, you think this is not Krishna's job? You think this is inferior? This is not Krishna conscious? And then he retracted, okay, I will do it. He never opened his mouth after that. So he got the job. He didn't like it, but he did it fully with so much difficulty, because he had to work 2 shifts along. Laborers came only for one shift. He had to supervise both shifts. So hardly any sleep, and he just could barely manage 16 rounds and one Mangalarti, that is just singing Samsara Dava, that's all. The rest all the time running behind the workers. So that was not to his liking, but he did it. Very this thing, and of course he must have been happy, satisfied, because he satisfied Krishna. That is our criteria. Whatever Krishna wants, whatever Guru wants, I'm ready to do. So that is why we are chanting so that we stop listening to a chattering mind, and we still the mind and we listen to Krishna. And Krishna's got a plan for each and every one of us, something wonderful. And it will come, and you can do that and feel completely satisfied. Because Vyasadeva also, he is the avatar for this age to write all the scriptures, and he himself was dissatisfied after writing everything. He wrote Vedas, he wrote Upanishads, he wrote the Puranas, except Bhagavatam, everything, and then he was not satisfied. So the criteria of having done your work well is you must be internally fully satisfied. Now he was thinking, why I'm not satisfied? And he went and he did everything for the benefit of people. Imagine, he was wrote everything down. So much of thought process went into it just to benefit Kali Yuga people, made it very simplified. All for our sake, he sat and wrote stories, especially Kali Yuga people don't like to read Upanishad and all that. So he made Puranas and Itihasas like Mahabharata, Ramayana. So much thinking went into it. And after that, also, he was not at all satisfied and he was very disturbed. What have I done? Have I done something wrong? My motivation was wrong, or what is it? And he searched within his heart. And that is when, within the heart where Krishna is there, and Krishna's representative, the Guru, came immediately, Narada Muni, and said, what happened? And he said, I don't know why I'm not feeling happy after writing all this. I'm not satisfied. So that is the criteria, that when we do something for Krishna, we should feel fully satisfied. Then yes, I've done my job. I'm not worried about the result because I've done something and I feel fully satisfied. Result will be good. Why will it not be good? Because it is Krishna who made me do it. Krishna only gave the result. He is doing whatever he wants. It will be perfect. So we don't need to worry about results. We should only worry about, am I doing what Krishna wants and am I doing it for his satisfaction? That is the only criteria. Everything in life will turn out perfect if we only follow this. Everything. We don't try to whimsically do on our own, but wait, we chant Hare Krishna when we allow Krishna to decide what we need to do, whatever, any activity. The mind is the one which prevents us from surrendering to Krishna, keeps on chattering. No, 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 this is how it should be. See, they are also doing, you also should do. All kinds of things. That is not the criteria at all. We'll never be satisfied if we simply try to do according to social conventions or try to copy somebody else. None of that will satisfy us. So that is what we learn how. My dear, and that's what this one is advising him. My dear King Shukdev Goswami, my dear King Parikshit, all these kings who tried to enjoy the earth by their strength were reduced by the force of time to nothing more than historical accounts. So we know where are all our great grandfather, grandfather, and all these people just gone. Only historical. Sometimes people might remember, yeah, my forefathers. They are somewhere else. Hardly anything matters with this family. So that is how illusory it is. And so we must be very, very intelligent and really see this. And this will really satisfy the heart by doing everything, controlling the mind and surrendering to Krishna and doing whatever Guru and Krishna wants. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments? Yes, Prabhu, please accept my blessings.
Mataji, this Kalki Avatar and Parshuram, they were born in Brahman family, but they were exhibiting the qualities of Kshatriya. So born in Brahman and exhibiting quality of Kshatriya, how do we understand that?
No, that way Kshatriyas also had Brahmana sons. No, Rishabhadev's, how many? 9 sons, the Nava Yogendras. They became great sages. So that is what? It is not by birth at all. It is only by qualification. So Brahmana, because the Kshatriya dynasty all were very fallen. Maybe that is why. Because all Kshatriyas all rotten in Kali Yuga. That's why he didn't take birth in Kshatriya family. Instead in a Brahmana family. And that is why Parashurama also, because all Kshatriyas are so fallen, that is why he took birth in a Brahmana family and then he killed them.
Okay, man.
prayers. Now we pray for His Holiness Jep Tak Swami for his good health, well-being, longevity, and protection
Hare
from all
Krishna, Mataji.
diseases.
Sorry to disturb you, Mataji. One question, Mataji. Please accept
Yes.
my obeisances. I
Okay.
was I want to confirm, Mataji, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has written this Nyaya Shastra book, and also his friend Raghunath also has written Nyaya Shastra, right, Mataji? So he's that Raghunath is the same person, like a devotee who is in the six Goswamis.
Yes.
Okay. Just I want to confirm, Mataji. I was got confused, so that's the reason I was asking.
Mataji, Hare
Then
Krishna. Please
Hare
accept my
Krishna.
humble
Please
pranam.
explain
Mataji,
this.
just have one small question.
Hmm.
Last Sunday, Srikant Gopinath Prabhu was asking about Pitru Devatas. Like, every year we offer remnants, this thing, Pinda to Pitru Devatas, no, Mataji. So he had a
Yeah.
doubt, like, they may be taken birth or elevated. No, he didn't know that they can elevate from the Pitru Loka also. But already
Hmm.
they might have taken birth. So why still we are offering this thing? He was asking.
No,
And just
because it gets taken to them whichever birth. It's mostly for those who have not got bodies yet for their benefit. But even if they have taken another birth, it is through the Paramatma that it is taken, given. You might think, oh, they've gone there. How will it go? They won't know nothing. And it's good for us. Krishna has created this kind of link between the forefathers, even though it's illusory, but still, because the material attachment is there, so we can benefit. And not only that, it's Krishna who reaches this offerings to them and gets their blessings. He's the one who, gives the blessing also to us. He's only set up the whole system, and it keeps us connected. And mostly, what happens? Those who are following all this Pitru things, they go to the Pitru Loka. Those are very attached to their family members. And then they follow the Shrad very properly. They go to Pitru Loka. They don't go to hell, but they go to Pitru Loka. But okay, there is not so much suffering, but you don't have a gross body. So just that you can be with all your loved ones. So that is one thing. But even if mainly we do, because in case many of them, especially in Kali Yuga, are horribly attached to this material world, and they are not even liberated. They're all hovering around in ghostly bodies. So if you do this, then it helps them. They are able to eat Vishnu Prasadam, and so they will get gross bodies. So that's why we should do.
So
It is
Pitru Loka, whoever reaches Mataji, it's before hell and heaven, no?
which one?
Pitru Loka is located
Below
before
the
hell
earth. It's below the earth.
Okay, so there also they'll be undergoing the punishments.
No, see, on the left side you have this thing. I mean, or from the earth, on the right side is Pitru Loka, on the left is hell, Naraka Loka. So those who are this thing very sinful, they go to hell. And those who are not so sinful, and for whom all this, they've been following all the Shrad, and they are very attached to their forefathers. They've not done sinful activities so much, but they are attached to their ancestors, their relatives, and all that. They'll go to Pitru Loka. So there's
So
not
from there
suffering in
also they
Pitru
can
Loka.
elevate, Mataji. From there also they can get elevated to higher
Ah,
planetary systems
yes, of course.
by eating the prasadam, whatever we offer.
Yes, they will get that Sukriti. So that is why Krishna says that if there is one pure devotee in a family, 7 generations before and 7 generations after will all also be delivered. They all may be in different families and different planets somewhere. But because we are doing pure devotional service, Krishna can He knows it is very complicated, but he's keeping count. Who's who, everything he knows. So it reaches them. So they'll become liberated.
Okay. So whatever we are offering, if they have taken birth also, it reaches through Paramatma through them to them.
Yes. And but for Pitruloka, those who are in the Pitruloka, no, the crow, they say that you have to keep rice for the crows.
They
And
say
because
crow is
Marima,
like crow carries this thing to the Pitrus.
yes, that's also considered. But other than that, nowadays hardly any crow comes, no. So sometimes we don't know. Can't hide.
And some people will be offering the non-vegetarian also, no, Mataji. Like, some, like in our caste, we have 2 types of people, like categories. So one category offers the non-vegetarian also.
And that will only give them sense gratification and not any spiritual benefit. If you give Vishnu Prasadam, they'll be elevated. If you just give non-veg, just sense gratification. What's the benefit of eating that? Maybe if they're hovering, if they've not yet got a body, and they're still having ghostly bodies, they may come and eat the non-veg. And they might think, very good. They may help. I don't know, what's the use? We must offer Vishnu Prasadam only for their elevation.
So Gopinath Prabhu, you have any doubts on this? Actually, I think it was verse from the Bhagavatam, I think. Sunday Bangalati link was.
Not now, Mataji. We'll have to go in little in detail.
Okay. So you want to ask Mataji one day to give class only on this?
Yes, ma, that will be then. Nothing like it.
So
Okay, before we had done once, but again we'll do it.
Yes.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so we pray for His Holiness Jayapataka Swami for his good health, well-being, longevity, and perfect health and protection from all diseases, and also for his servants, and also for all Prabhupada disciples, and also for all our devotees and their families. And we pray for rainfall in Karnataka, and we pray for all peace.
Mataji, please include Telangana also for rainfall.
Rain.
Also for us also
Too much rain, na?
We didn't have much rains, no, Mataji, last year. It was only 1 week rains, but now I think everywhere water issue is coming up in Hyderabad.
Oh, okay. We pray for
Telangana also
rainfall in Telangana and Karnataka. And because both are Congress governments, na, that is why. Who asked you all to elect Congress? You also drought problem. Okay.
Mataji voted to BJP only. Some places they voted.
Anyway, now if you all vote properly for this Lok Sabha, maybe you'll get rain. We also. So let us pray that we get proper rainfall, Telangana and Karnataka, and also all peace and prosperity and protection from all dangers within India and also all around the world. So let us chant 3 times Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare.
And then we pray for very nice preaching for the whole second Rath Yatra, and especially Ringrajpuram and Srila Prabhupada Dham, and also for our Kurmangala Yatra, very nice preaching and nice expansion. Let us chant 3 times Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna.